Hi, Brent here in Port Dover. You know, it may have been a cool spring, but that doesn't mean things aren't heating up at the Lighthouse Festival Theatre. Opening night is coming soon with an oh-so-Canadian play called Fitz Happens. We talked with the artistic director about the play, and he says people may be seeing red.
Could you tell me generally what the season looks like, what you're looking at?
Well, the season, of course, we do what we do well is comedy. I mean, that's what we're predominantly known for in summer theater. But, we always try to put a show in there that's got some heart to it, and it's got some questions that make people think when they leave the theater about themselves or their family members or anything like that. So, but predominantly we've got music and comedy and a little bit of heart sprinkled throughout the season.
Yeah, comedy, that seems to be what people like, or certainly what I've witnessed here at the theater over the years.
Yeah. Well, sure, there's other theaters where they have a different sort of mandate, but for 37 years, people have been coming to Dover, have an arbor dog, have some perch, go to the beach, walk the nice, quaint shops up and down the main street there, and then come to the Lighthouse for a laugh, and that's the Lighthouse experience. So we embrace that, and, every now and then we'll do a show that, challenges people a little bit on the emotional side of things, but people come here for a good time and fun, and that's why Lighthouse is so popular, is because it's like a big giant family having a laugh in the living room.
Okay, the first one in line is a play called Fitz Happens, take off on you-know-what.
Yeah.
So, reading the preamble to that, it seems very interesting.
It's totally interesting. Listen, Mark Weatherly, the writer, was rehearsing the first show of the season last year, One Moment, which is a musical. And we got to talking. He said, Derek, I've written a musical, a play, and I was wondering if you'd take a look at it and give me any advice. So I said, sure, and he sent it to me, and it was like maybe the third day of rehearsal in the season, and I started reading it, and then I kind of got more and more interested, and in about an hour and a half I got through it. I got up out of my desk, I walked over to the rehearsal hall, I pulled him out of rehearsals, and I said, I want to do your show. And he's a first-time playwright, and he was kind of shocked. Because the read of it was just, I was laughing out loud, and it was fun, and the characters were so interesting, and it was so innovative and quirky that I just knew that our audience had to do it. And I wanted to be the first theater to do it. We wanted the premiere of it.
Yeah. Well, he must be very, eclectic writer, because, the theme for it, starting in England and then ending up in Canada. I mean, who would think of something like that?
Oh, I know, and it's great, and the town of Dry Glutch, where does that come from? Who knows? And you've got singing cowboys and criminals, and a Mountie who is a British aristocrat trying to save the town. The imagination is a wonderful thing.
It's going to be good. The second one, real estate. A real estate agent meets writer?
Basically. And, writer is, of course, tortured in all his wonderful ways, as all writers are. And the real estate agent is equally as tortured in all her wonderful ways. And they try to figure out how they're going to sell this house, but, the house is a wreck because he's a writer. So it's not the cleanest place in the world. But as they start to clean up the shambles of his house, they're starting to clean up the shambles of their own lives. And it's very funny, and, these two other characters slam into the story to make it even more absurd and self-reflective and, cathartic and all those wonderful things. And that show is interesting because real estate was workshopped at Lighthouse Theatre. Alana and I, the writer, talked about it maybe 12 years ago, 10 years ago. And it was workshopped here. It was, lots of writing happened here. And then it never played the stage here. And it's been all over the world now. So when her and I got to talking, I said, it's time for this show to play at home. She agreed. So here we are 10 years later, and it's coming home.
Yeah. Not that many people, get to deal with a writer, but just what everybody deals with a real estate agent at some point in time.
Yeah.
So
it happens.
Okay. The next one in line is something fishy. Something fishy. Very apropos for Port Dover. Tell us what that's about.
We actually, that's a commission by Lighthouse, which means that we went out, found the writers, and said, we want you to write a show for the Lighthouse audience. So we pay that writer money, and we have no idea what they'll develop. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But with Marcia Cash and Douglas Hughes, who wrote, audiences may remember Whose Underwear and Too Many Cooks, that's their shows. They wanted to write a show sort of based around a small town like Port Dover, and community theater and politicians. How do you slam those themes together? And they did. And the show was written, and we did a reading of it here, a little bit of a workshop, and we gave some notes, and they went off and touched it up, and then lo and behold, it went on to win the Tom Henry Comic Award writing.
Wow.
Yeah, so we're pleased. So yeah, that's just kind of like Fitz Happens. That's another Lighthouse production, world premiere.
So is there a fish aspect to it?
Oh yeah. I can't tell you that part though.
No.
It's pretty integral in the script. So.
Okay. The next one, The Perfect Wedding.
Yeah.
Hardly any weddings are perfect. So
No, I know.
I
That's why
suppose this one is.
That's why it's a great topic for comedy, right? You know, if like I said to someone, if Monty Python were to write how the morning of the wedding goes wrong, this is it. This is how it starts. So it starts right at dawn on the day of the wedding, and everything just goes south. And this show's played all over the world. It's it's a British comedy, farcical elements to it, a wonderful story, and great characters. It's got that perfect British made character.
And virtually everybody here is going to be able to relate to it.
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely. It's kind of like Stag and Doe, what we did last year. It's a show that everyone could relate to because everyone's kind of been to the Stag and Doe in this area.
Yeah.
We know what that is, whereas many of my friends in Toronto have no idea what a Stag and Doe is. They've never been to one. It really is a small town Canada thing.
Yeah.
And so, but, the morning of a wedding is potentially can be a nightmare. And in this show, it certainly is.
Okay. Moving along, we're going to talk about Jonas and Barry, Norm Foster.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't go wrong, really, with a Norm Foster play.
Norm Foster and Dave Nairn have worked together in a number of shows as actors. They love working together, and they always used to joke for years, just for as long as I've known them, 14 years, they always joked that they wanted to write a show called the Boca play. And what that is it's a show that they can retire on and just do that one show all over the islands and in Canada and that's all they do. And Norm is, they're of an age where this idea hit him. What would it be like if two guys in their 60s who are, amiable, they're okay, but what would it be as if they moved into a retirement home and treated it like an all-inclusive resort, right?
Yeah.
So this is the show that they came up with, and we all know Norm. He's very funny, but we all know Norm that he can be very, very heartfelt too. And this show does ask a few deep questions about aging and how we view aging and how we perceive what aging is and what the reality of aging is. And
I didn't know that David Nairn was going to be in it, so
Yeah.
He's great. I
Well,
saw
you just
those
gotta-
two
you
in
just gotta scoop.
the love list.
Oh, yeah.
Great. So
Yeah.
this will be.
yeah, they've got a chemistry, right?
Yeah.
That they've always had, and that's why they were really keen on writing this because it would be a little more age appropriate for them. They can't get away with the love list anymore. No, so so this is now their next decade's show.
Well, then the next thing down the pike is his wife, Lisa Way.
Yeah.
With one of the great shows that she always puts on. It seems every season.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Well, she's done Dolly Parton, Patsy Cline. She's done a ton of shows. She has a Glenn Campbell show out right now that's really great that features Aaron Solomon on the fiddle, and he's remarkable. He's a Canadian gem. But they wanted to write a show. Canon 150's coming. They wanted to write a show because there's been so much really strong Canadian music over the decades, and they wanted to put a show that wasn't afraid to throw in the Guess Who, the Bare Naked Ladies, Gordon Lightfoot. Like there's some really
All those iconic
Steppenwolf.
ones, yeah.
There's some really amazing music that Canada's come out with. So she's just slammed it all into one show, and it's a show about celebrating Canadian music. Yeah.
Yeah, that's something that everybody should look forward to.
Oh, sure.
I do want to talk about, just for a second, about the young company, what they're, they've bitten off a big bite with The Wizard of Oz.
Well, yeah, but go big or go home. And you know what? They've never let us down.
Mm-hmm.
Marcus and the kids have always come up with innovative ways to tell a story that, you think is just too big for a young company show on our stage. And they nail it every time. I don't know if you remember Peter Pan, the sequence where all the kids are flying.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone was like, well, how are they going to fly? And they just came up with this brilliant sort of costumes where their legs were in black, but they had fake legs behind them so it looked like they were flying. And then they used Barbie dolls hanging off of fishing lines so it looked like the dolls. And they did the voiceovers. They come up with these amazing ways of telling a big giant story in a very small way.
It'll be interesting to see how they manage with the dog.
I can't wait to find out, right?
Yeah, really.
And that's kind of the joy. And I tell you, we shut down the theater. A lot of people don't realize it, but we shut down Lighthouse professional season for 1 week so that those kids get the whole kit and caboodle of Lighthouse Festival Theater, everything. And I'll tell you, the professionals that are in town either rehearsing or they're in the show that's currently playing, they all come to the kids show because they love it. And it's become a bit of a tradition with all the professionals coming to support the young actors and see the show because they've heard what Marcus and these guys are pulling off.
Yeah.
So I can't wait to see it. I never step in rehearsals for the kid shows. I always wait for the product.
Well, it sounds like it is going to be a great, interesting, and funny season. Thanks very much for talking with us about it.
No, I appreciate it. Thanks so much.
This is Brent Hansen reporting for Culture Rodeo in Port Dover.